Hey there, welcome back to SureFire Live. Thanks for joining us tonight. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you have started your busy season. I know that in our industry, a lot of people are talking about that first big wave has come as far as new customers calling, but also, some people never slowed down this year. Some people did. So I think a lot of it depends on your business structure, your marketing methods, clearly your sales methods, and maybe even what area of the country you're in. With that, I wanted to talk to Alan Rush. I wanted to bring him back on. Oh, I've lost him in the queue. He is traveling. He is on the road all the time. As you know, he goes out into people's business. He helps you go out with your team and helps them sell on the spot. And he's absolutely amazing. He's been out with my team a lot lately, and he's got some great stories from helping people realize stuff, because we can talk all the time, but until you're out in the world with them and seeing what it is, you really learn a lot. And I've learned I can say things 1,000 times, I can say it 1,000,000 times, and it doesn't matter. I can't believe sometimes things don't get picked up from my guys. I'm like, what do you mean you've never heard that? Or this is news to you. I've said it, we say it in our meetings, we talk about it, but until they experience it, I don't know. Some people don't learn that way. They have to go through everything. And so that's kind of frustrating sometimes, but this is an open conversation. I'd love to hear from you guys. Looks like our crowd is building nicely. Alan looks like he's coming back on. He's trying to get a connection. So we'll see if it works. Let me bring him on. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man. I don't know. This is rough. You tell me.
We'll try it. Where are you? You said you're in New York?
I am. I left the city this morning, and I'm in Albany now. And a little place called Clifton Park. And the hotel internet was great earlier, and now it's like completely gone out. So, and my cell service apparently is not much better. So, we'll see how it goes.
It sounds like a lot of people got back to the hotel, started to use the internet, and they've killed our connection. So hey, I just introduced you as, you've been working with our team, and I talked about, a lot of people can market. They've got the phones ringing off the hook, yet they send a team out to go in a house, and man, they're stepping over thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, because you got your technician to the house to sweep the chimney, inspect the chimney, and that's all that technician is there to do. And I know you see it all the time. One of the things that just frustrates the heck out of me is that mindset that I'm here to do this job. I'm here to just look at this thing, and I'm going to look at this thing, and I'm going to get done looking at the thing, and I'm going to get out of here and go look at the next thing, instead of opening your brain to, you're frozen are really awesome. You're frozen like this. But they're just blind to all of the things around them except that tunnel vision. So do you see that? And let's start there with just getting through the front door.
Yeah, it's hopefully this works out, and if you let me know if it gets too bad, but as long as we got audio, we'll deal with the video. I'm not much to look at anyway. So I think that the big thing is, what is the job, right? Like whenever you go for a sweep and inspection, what is the job? And when you've got guys that, depending on how they're paid, that, hey, I need to do this sweep because I make $50, or I make this, or I do that, right? That's the mindset that that's their job. They're missing all the fruit, right? Especially this time of the year.
Yes.
It's like 2 weeks ago, I was out at your place and, went out with your guys for like 4 days. And I had one guy that I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, in almost 6 months, he had not got to the point where he had felt comfortable proposing on the spot yet. And, if any training that we've been through, that's like the number one thing that you do is you never leave the home without a proposition.
On the spot.
And so, of course, he had never in 6 months closed a deal on the spot. And, we went out and we had 3 appointments and we went 3 for 3. One of them's going to be insurance. It didn't close right there. But once the insurance gets approved and, and on paper, when you look at the appointments we had, they were not great leads, right? One of them was a previous customer prefab. Blah, no opportunity there, right? Another one was a prefab that was built in 2017. Oh my gosh, why are you sending me on such garbage, right? That was kind of the mindset when we went into it. And so the first one, we sold a chase cover as a brick chase and a water repellent and a masonry cleaner and all that kind of stuff. And the second one, it looks like it's 40 years old, man. It's starting to warp. We're getting some issues. We ended up selling a rip and replace, and then we had another chase cover. And so, I don't remember what the exact number was, but it was 13, 14 grand, in on chases. And the guy had never done that, and to see his eyes and to see that moment of, oh my gosh, how short-sighted I've been, and how much money I have. I mean, he was disgusted. He's like, I cannot even imagine how much money I've left on the table here. And it's just going through the process, man. And the beautiful thing about our sales process is it's the same busy season or non-buying season, whatever we want to call this. But the difference is you get more fruit during the busy season or the buying season, because the need level's already naturally higher. So you're starting at a little bit higher level than you are during non-buying season. So same work, just more fruit.
I agree. One of our friends here is watching. Our good buddy says, John Meredith. He said, "You guys rock."
John Meredith rocks. What do you think about
John
that?
Meredith rocks. He's not on social media. He's watching us on LinkedIn. So, hey, John, love you, man. Miss you. Can't wait to see you soon.
It's about time for some new hats, man.
Oh, got the heat shield hat on. Heck yeah, you do. And then I can't tell who this is, but it says, "We were that company. Write a proposal and leave it. Alan's sales training has been a game changer for us already, and we've only been working with him a couple of months. Can't wait to see what we achieve as we fully acclimate to his process." Man, that's a great testament right there. And I wish I knew who this was. If you don't mind putting your name in there so Alan knows who it is. He probably knows who it is. But yeah, I mean, I think most people don't have a process in this industry, period. So when you said acclimate to his process, I bet I'm not saying them, I don't know them, but most of us don't have any process. We go, we show the problems, we show the products to fix it. Do you want us to do it or not? And if we do, it's months out. Oh, so this was Advanced Chimney, Mike from Advanced Chimney.
Yeah.
So talk about that. I mean, what process?
Well, I mean, if you've been through my stuff, I have a very specific 45-step process from the time you leave the office or the warehouse and you go to your first appointment to the point where you either close the deal or you set your follow-up for the next day, or whatever the case may be. And it's a very intentional step by step. Here's exactly the things that needs to happen in order to, one, find out what the customer's needs are, what they want out of the situation, how to present to them in a way that actually matters to them, and then how to have them tell us what they want to buy, and then just become the person that allows them to buy it. And so,
to that point, everybody's got a sales process. They've all got a process. However you do it is your process. But to your point, 45 steps, if I'm listening, like, there's no way my guys are going to do 45 steps. They don't do 10 steps. How am I going to get a guy to follow a more detailed process? How do you get that into people?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is remember that process is not scripting, right? Process is not programming and robotics, right? I think when people hear 45-step process, they hear, you're going to take all my personality away. You're going to take my, like, people buy me, which is the whole thing that my particular process I've created helps amplify. But I mean, literally, to give you an example, did I call the customer on the way to the job? That's a step. Right? Did I present them a business card? That's a step. Did I make 6 feet of open space? That's a step. Did I talk rapport before chimneys? That's a step. Did I, so I mean, yes, it sounds like 45 steps, but at the end of the day, I'd say 70% of this is just common sense of stuff that you're probably doing already. You just may not know exactly why you're doing it or how it impacts the sale. And so
Did I talk politics and religion? That's a step.
That's right. That's right. Look, you have no idea how many times I've been the biggest Biden fan and the biggest Trump fan this year, just based on the signs that were on the wall. Oh yeah, man, screw that guy.
Oh
I'm
man,
with you.
yeah, absolutely. Yes, that's the guy. That's right. That is the guy.
Yeah, that's right.
And right here, I think this is Jasper. He said Alan needs a clone, and then he said
Yes.
many of them.
Yeah.
Man, you're out there, man. You are the most prolific sales guy in this industry. So you've seen the good, bad, the ugly. You've been in some scary situations too. So what is the big takeaway that anybody watching that we're missing when you look at other industries and you look at us? What are we great at and what are we just missing?
Well, I mean, we're great technicians. I think that's the one thing that this industry has done for a long time is they've trained great technicians. They're usually certified. They're knowledgeable. They're going to leave people in a better, safer place. They're going to do good things technically, right? And so the problem is that doesn't sell. We still have to do those things. We still have to be great technicians. We still have to make sure that we find everything that needs to be found. But the problem is, and the example I use all the time is if we went to someone and said, "How often do you use your fireplace?" And like, "Man, we haven't used this thing in 20 years." And then you go through and try to follow my process that says, step whatever 11, involve the customer in the scan, and then tell them, "Hey, you've got a flue that doesn't work, and let's talk about how we want to fix this. Do we want to reline this? Do we want to resurface this? Do we want a stove?" And they're like, "Dude, I said I haven't used this in 20 years. You're solving a problem that the chimney or the fireplace needs, but it's not relevant to the customer." And so till we learn to change the conversation as to, I always say no one picks up the phone and just calls a chimney sweep. Why am I coming through your door? What brings me out today? And then let me help you through whatever that need level is. And oh, by the way, I can't do those things because of A, B, and C is technically wrong with the chimney. We're doing the same work. We're just presenting it in a way that means something to the customer. Otherwise, we're guaranteed to get objections, price objections. So let me think about it. It's been fine for 30 years. Let me talk to the wife. Let me call somebody else. All those things that we know we get are happening because we're providing solutions to things that the customer is not engaged to.
It's so funny. A guy popped up here that I haven't talked to for a while. This is John Keys. He said, "I think I used to work in this industry. John was my very first helper ever in Nashville." Nice. He lived across the street from me. John one day I needed help on a job. I knew John because we were across the street, and I said, "Can you help me?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm not doing anything." And that turned into, gosh, that was 30 plus years ago, right? And he helped me on a lot of jobs. We saw a lot of crazy stuff. What was so funny, though, was we weren't busy enough to stay busy every day. So we'd go to the arcade and play NBA Jam all the time. We were a good NBA Jam team, So John saw some crazy stuff with me. He went through a lot of battles with me when we were learning this game called Chimneys.
Yeah.
So good to see you, John. Awesome. So let's talk about, by the way, talk about, when you're surrounded by stuff, you forget you're surrounded by it. Like if you're surrounded by a bad sales process, that my room is a mess right here because I'm in the middle. My house is a complete disaster. We're redoing the whole bottom of the bottom floor, new kitchen, new floors, everything. And so we're all jammed up into the top of the house. I don't recommend it, but it had to get done. And it was that's why I'm looking at the back of this and like, God, what a trashy backdrop I've got. But anyway, but again,
well, we're going to be an endurance test for me to see how long I can keep my arm up. I'm
oh yeah, you got your arm up, man. I'm sorry. Yeah. A couple say John, it looked like John thought that was pretty funny. So Brad says, if you want to succeed in this business, you need to follow Alan Rush's processes. It's made a huge difference. We're not selling, we're solving customers' issues. Awesome. I want to talk about that real quick because I commented on a post, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but the guy's post was man, it's the Titans. It's go in there, attack and hit. Let's go. Take no prisoners. Let's go in there and just do it. Crush this thing. And I'm like, in the chimney business, that's what you're doing now. And I know it just hit me wrong, but I never want to go in and crush and smash and take prisoners. Like, I'm going in there, not that at all. I remember I've been with people that are like that, and it's cringy almost. So,
Yeah.
how do you I mean, clearly what Brad said is we're going in there, we're not selling anything. You called us in as experts. We're first and foremost, again, back to story branding. I was going to talk about story branding a little bit, about making them the hero. And I know we've talked about it a lot lately, but talk about the thought process of not going and making them the victim or the who you're against. How do you make them the hero?
Well, you're dead on, and Brad, thanks for that. So a couple things. One is, if you've been through a class of mine, I have my number one rule of sales is, if it feels like you're selling, then stop. Right? It's just literally that simple. There's no need to be high pressure in this. And if I have 2 or 3 pet peeves in this industry that people teach, or that they go through, and one of them is fear selling. There's no need to. There's a fine line between education and fear, right? But I never want a person to make an emotional decision, right? I am firmly, absolutely against emotion selling, and I want them to make a logical decision. I want them to make a decision that they understand what they're saying yes to, and more importantly, if they don't say yes, what's going to continue to happen. And
Exactly.
that's one of the whole reasons that I teach the need and price thing, right? The idea that a customer cannot overcome or really process, I have all these problems, and also it costs all this much money, all at the
Exactly.
same time, which is why I'm always breaking down the need level as soon as I find it, right? I'm not overwhelming them, walking in and saying, hey, you got all this stuff wrong. But as I am discovering things in my process, I'm bringing them over and I'm educating them, and I'm slowly taking them from that customer that probably already had your check for $300 written for the sweep and inspection, to that realization to say, oh no, there's a bigger story here. And by the time I get done, they don't know how bad it is, but they know it's bad. And that number keeps growing in their head. So I'm probably one of the only sales trainers on the planet that will legitimately 100% tell you, I don't care if you sell. Because I don't look at that as the win, right? The process is the win. The education is the win. A customer understanding what they're saying no to is the win. I can't control a lot of things, including how much money a customer has, or their ability to be financed, or whatever those things are. But if I go in and they say, Alan, here's what I'm looking to do, and I say, great, here's how we do that. Here's what that looks like. If we choose not to do that, here's what you're agreeing to continue on with. And they say, man, I get it. I like what you're saying. I hear you. I'm willing to take that consequence or that risk. I feel like I've done my job as a consultant. So even though that means no extra money on that sale.
So talk about making them the hero and you being the guy. Talk about that thought process.
Well, I'm going to talk about that for everybody except the company I'm here to see right now, called Chimney Heroes, because this is awkward.
They are the hero.
Yeah,
That's funny.
awkward. Yeah. So yeah. Well, I actually went through I think the last time I was here, like 3 or 4 months ago, I went through this whole story branding thing in a morning meeting, completely just, no, not even realizing the company that I'm in. And I'm like, the last thing you want to do is be the hero. And they're like, well, dang it, we're going to change all our uniforms.
We are
So
the heroes. But it's really
the
how you
idea,
make somebody feel, right? It's
that's
really
it.
not that. It's
It
what you make them feel like and what you are to them. You as a
that's it.
technician are not the hero. I've got all the answers. I'm going to save the day, right?
That's right. It's not. It comes from Donald Miller. Story Branding is a great book that everybody should read. But I've just kind of adapted it a little bit into sales from marketing, which is kind of his intent. But the idea is that they called you. You're the guide, right? There's a hero, a guide, and a villain. And most technicians or consultants try to be the hero, right? They want to go in and say, look, you've called the right person. I know all things chimneys and fireplaces. I can diagnose this in a 100-point inspection. If there's anything wrong with it, I can fix it, right? That makes you the hero. And the customer really doesn't want you to be the hero. They want to win, right? They don't want you to win. And so the whole idea of being the guide is to say, look, I have seen this exact problem 100 other times. I've solved this for 100 other people. You've called the right person. Let me help you navigate what this looks like. Let me help you understand these, understand these problems even deeper. And if they're important enough to you, I'm happy to help you make them go away, right?
That exact thing happened to me today. I've got these guys in my house. They're painting right now downstairs. They decided that they were going to be the heroes because then they went to show me some bad work that another person had done on my house painting, right? Like, oh, look at this. This is wrong. That's wrong. We're going to take care of it. And they had to go back several times to tell my wife, we're going to take care of it. Look at this. This is terrible. And man, this is going to be really good when we're done. And they were the hero. But what it makes me feel like as a homeowner is I hired a bad guy and I'm stupid. Or I didn't notice that and I'm blind in my own house. I didn't see how bad it was. You cannot be the hero when you're the technician. You're the guy that, hey, man, good thing we found this. Like, you cannot be, and there's so many technicians, as soon as they have this, I call it the superpower. When they have the superpower of knowledge in chimneys, they want to show it. They want to be the master. And today it happened to me, and I didn't want to say anything right there to him. Like, I don't want you to be the hero. You're making me feel as the homeowner like I've messed up, and I need you to save my ass. That's not what I'm interested in, right?
That's right. That's right.
Real quickly, so I can't tell this, but this is a total great line. Sell the dream or lifestyle. It pays better than fear and makes cheerleaders. And again, that either is Mike or Jasper. And so Jasper I remember you told me when I was doing ride-alongs with you guys, you said to win as many opportunities as possible. And if I need help, reach out to you. I feel the same way and really appreciate all you do. With that, being able to make the attitude of being a problem solver rather than straight up salesman has been very helpful to me. Yeah, well said.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things, man. I think, the power that the technician feels to solve the problem is legitimate, and it's okay to be that guy. Just change it from hero to expert, right? And change it to go back to Carnegie, How to Win Friends, right? So just change the conversation to be in their interest versus yours, and you're fine, right? You can still you talk about burning habits, and you want to talk about, hey, you need this moisture content in your wood, and hey, you need this. Well, how about just take a look at their wood and talk about, make it about them versus about you, and say, hey, I noticed this, and did you know? And hey, you're starting to get a little bit of buildup of this, what we call stage 3 creosote, and that's a very difficult thing to remove. So in order to, avoid, that kind of buildup, here's 2 or 3 tips and it does the same thing, right? It positions you as the expert, positions you as quote unquote the hero that gives them the information they need, but you're not just randomly giving them stuff that's irrelevant. It's all about things that help them get to their goal.
I love when you say at the end of an inspection, you say, we give them a laundry list of things that they don't want to buy. And I think that's such an interesting way, because we're so interested in it, right? We're like, oh, we can do all these things. Look at all these things you need done. They have
Did you say crown coat? What? Get out of here. It's only 800? No. Where do I sign?
Right. And so again, to that point, we sell stuff that they really don't want. But again, I think it's whoever said, you got to sell the dream of, and sometimes the dream is to stop a problem they know they've got: smoking in the house, leaking chimney. The dream is get my house back to before I had this problem. You're selling that dream of, I'm the guy, I got this handled. You don't go, man, look how bad these bricks were built and look how crappy your construction was. No, you're like, hey, this is what it is. It's resulting in this problem that you call me about. I'm your guy. I got it all the way. We do it 1,000 times a day. Here's pictures of the before work, pictures of us doing after work. I'm just going to tell you a story that, trust me, I know how to fix this. And then go into the details, but it's not really about you. It's like, man, I've got you, man, jump on my back and I'm going to run through that line for you. I'm going to take care of it, but I'm not the hero. You're going to win. You're going to love your house again. Sometimes a chimney leak is the bane of their existence. They hate their house till they can get it solved.
Absolutely. And I just did one of the weekly videos on this. So, it's like video number 50 something, but I think you talk about one of the big mistakes that chimney guys make, or that salespeople make. And I know people on this call that do this, not to point out anybody. I'm talking to you. Where we just go through and get that laundry list, honestly, that it is product and price, right? And we're great at talking about the description of the product, right? The crown seal is an elastomeric rubber membrane that is designed to blah, 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 bore me to death, right? But what we need to change is, it's not what we're buying, it's what we're getting that is directly relevant to the customer. And if anybody's followed my stuff, they know I've got this thing called the Big Three, and that's what I want my proposals to be. It's not crown coat water repellent flash seal cap. It is a complete fix of all existing water deterioration and a prevention system to make sure that we don't have to worry about any more deterioration, damage, mold, mildew, intrusion to the home, all those kind of things over the next 10 years, right? How much is that worth? And so who cares how you do it? Right? I mean, honestly, who cares how you do it? Do you want your heat on or do you not? Do you want your fire to work or not? Do you want water out or not? And here's how I'm going to do it, and I'm going to stand behind it. And all the detail in between just makes people ask questions that we don't want them to ask.
To that point, just happened to me a month ago. I had an issue with my new car. My car was surging at a stoplight. I hit the brakes and the car go whoo, and it would jump forward. I'm like, holy cow, what is going on? And it got worse over 3 days. It got really bad. I called and said, I got to bring it in. They said, yeah, there's a known issue with the part of the transmission on this new car was doing that. I brought it in. I don't care that it was the throttle body this, the valve this, or that. Now Jasper would care. I don't care what they did. Solve my car from jumping into somebody else. I don't care. I didn't even look at the details. He said it's a this and this. I don't care. Stop the car from doing that. Don't tell me the details. It was under warranty, but even if what I had to pay for it, I would not have cared what he said. Well, my car was going to kill somebody. It was going to, or get me in a wreck. And I'm like, fix that. That's what we have to remember to do. The customer does not want to know throttle body this, power supply that, like none of that crap that we say. I'm going to solve your problem. Here's my solution. The car will not lunge into the traffic in front of you. That's all it is. Yeah.
Dead on. And you're breaking up a little bit on me, so I'm not sure if I'm breaking up on you. So
it's you. It's never me. So let me talk about let me talk about another thing that happened too. Couple years, let's talk about the option close. Can you hear me now?
I can. How about
one of the things that, actually, I'm going to back up. I want to talk about need first again. This is a water bottle that is, let's just say it's a quarter at Costco, right? At Costco, I'm not dying of thirst, so it's worth a quarter. If I want to buy this at a soccer game or something, it's $3 or $4 or $5, right? And it's not about the water inside. It's going to solve a problem. I'm thirsty and I can't get to any other water. But then what if I haven't drank water in a week and I'm coming across the desert? What's the value of this water in here? When I need it super bad, I don't care if it's going to keep me alive or keep me from, wind up in the hospital. This thing could be worth $1,000 or more. And so my guys get in a trouble of selling the product for what they think it's worth. And they don't know what the need is. How bad is the need for this water? If their need's not bad, it's not worth much. If the need is if the need is real high, they'll pay unbelievable amounts of money for this thing. And I think that's missed on a lot of our technicians.
I agree, and we'll see how this is going. You were pretty jumpy on me, so hopefully this kind of goes through. But the this is classic spin selling, right? Neil Rackham, the book, if you haven't read it by now, it's the idea of I can tell you all day long what you need to do. I can tell you all day long what your fireplace needs or what your chimney needs, and it may or may not be important to you. If it's not important to you, you're not going to spend money on it. The
Right.
whole idea of spin selling is I do the reverse. Spinning literally situation questions, problem questions, implication questions, need payoff questions. I go in, I say, you tell me what's important. Sorry, there's a motorcycle coming up. You tell me what's important, and I'm going to simply give it to you, right? It could. It's the example of I use for heat shield all the time. If you had 3 appointments, all 3 of them had missing mortar, and they were all 3 heat shield candidates, right? When you get to the proposal, if your language sounds exactly the same on all 3 of those presentations, you're selling heat shield, right? You're talking about a winch system and a cone and a bell and squeegeeing mortar, right? That's what you're doing. And people are not buying that, right? They're buying what the result is or what they want out of it. So my whole thing is ask them what they want, give it to them. Mr. Jones, you said you're trying to sell your house. You want to get out of this thing as cheap as possible. Fantastic. I've got an awesome solution that keeps me from completely deteriorating the entire inside of your fireplace. We can resurface this. I can put a lifetime warranty that transfers to your new buyer, save you some money. Great. Awesome. Perfect. Miss Jones, you said you're never leaving this house. I've got your chimney's an absolute perfect candidate for a product that I can resurface this versus go in and do all this destruction, have you have a much bigger project. And the beautiful thing is, as long as I come out every year and do an inspection, clean it if it needs to it, you never have to spend money on this again because it's got a lifetime warranty, right? It's what's important to them. Who cares how I do it? Exactly what you just said. I think that's a perfect example of your car. I don't care how you do it. Just tell me how you're going to give me what I want, what I need, solve my problem, keep further damage from happening, and own it.
And, and listen, they will tell you exactly how to sell them. Again, like you said, if they say they're getting out quick, you know what kind of customer what they're interested in. Clearly, safety things, we're going to have to always report them. You may not have to bid them, but you better report it. And then if they are going to be in the house for a long time, you give different kind of solutions, or they're giving it to their kid or whatever. But they'll tell you exactly how to sell them. I remember I was in someplace, I can't remember where it was, but the person kept telling me how expensive everything was, and they kept trying to give me the cheapest thing. I can't remember where I was. They kept saying, "Well, here's the cheapest one." I said, "What? Why do you think I want the cheapest one of whatever you're trying to sell? You better show me the best solution first. What gives you the right to not show me the best? Like, is it the baseball hat? What is it that makes you think I wouldn't want the best solution first?" I told her that. I said, "Hey, I don't know why you're showing me the cheapest stuff you've got. There's nothing about me that hardly is ever interested in that. Every once in a while, but overall, show me the best thing I could get and let me know what I need." Now, there's a couple other things. Let's see. I love when a customer asks, "Do you do that type of work before I offer a solution?" It makes me feel like I did my inspection objectively. That is a good point. You're not saying we can do this, we can do that. You're saying here's all the things you need. Whether it's us or somebody else, these are the things you need. I think that's a great point.
And that's interesting. I always like to play devil's advocate on that because I am a huge believer in using what I call the presumptive sales strategy. The presumptive sell is you called me for a problem, and I assume I'm solving that problem until you tell me we're not, right? So there is I actually encourage people to use moving forward language. Now, when we do this, or when my guys do this, now I'm going to have 2 guys probably take care of this part for you. The whole process is I'm talking about solving that problem for them, and I'm talking about it in first person, right? So,
yeah.
So I get the point of the objective inspection, and if we were in Europe or somewhere like that would be different. But here, I'm assuming that you tell me a problem and you're sharing that with me because you want me to fix it, and I'm going to keep using that language otherwise. And one more shameless weekly video plug is there's a whole thing on language matters. Think like what you just said, Mark. I can't tell you how many times I've heard a guy out in the chimney truck say, "Now look, ma'am, I know this is expensive," right? What a ridiculous thing to say, right? I mean, it's literally the word expensive means more than it's worth. And look, I know this is more than it's worth, but let me tell you why I think you should still buy it. I mean, it's you set yourself up for failure on that kind of stuff. And maybe words, right? I think, or this should, or I believe, all these lack of confidence words that people use are take away the confidence that a customer has in you to solve their problem.
Yeah. And this almost all my customers thoroughly enjoy the depth I go into about their fireplace system. I would question that. I'm going to question that. I bet they enjoy you. I bet they don't. They say they enjoy it. I can tell you this. If you go into depth about my HVAC system, my plumbing system, my yard, my insulation in my attic, I'm not interested. I'm interested in what I need to get done. But again, I'm not arguing, but he said almost all my customers, so I give him that. Even if they cannot afford the repairs, they appreciate the fact that I took the time with them. I didn't have to, and explained it to them so they understand. That's just good customer service. And I agree with that. One of the number one things like we get back on report cards is I enjoyed your guys really thoroughly, made sure that I understood what was going on. And you're totally right. This is how I build the customer for life and not just one job. Completely agree. I can tell you this. On the other side, I had a technician one time say, hey, when I'm at somebody's house, I want to make sure before I leave, they know as much about chimneys as I do. And I said, oh, hell no. Do not do that. Do not do that. Now, there's a few people that may want to know that. But in general, they want to know you're the expert and they can trust you. Now, engineers may want to know everything.
That's right.
And they want to be educated
That's
as to what they've got. I get that. But almost never in the real technical language. It's in a base level language that you could explain to your 8-year-old. But again, I think we all have the point of this call is, are you measuring something? Do you have a system that you can A/B against the presumptive close versus the non-presumptive close? Like my best guys out are the presumptive closers. They're like, they assume we're going to do the work and they talk to them like this is how we fix it. Then we have one, and I don't know how they disagreed. I totally agree with this. I disagree. Soccer moms don't give a shit about what the smoke chamber is. We're on the same page. I'm not sure how that came across. I totally agree that they don't care about that. Also, John says, I remember customers used to say, wow, today's visit for cleaning cap was expensive. And you used to tell them it's not expensive when I'm signing off saying your house is safe and not going to burn down. yeah, that's cheap when you put it on my shoulders.
Oh, how times have changed.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, and John, if you're still listening, we don't use that word that your house is safe anymore. That now that we're done, we say, we talk safety, but if you're burning a fire in a house, you can never say it's safe to use. But how are you doing, Alan? It looks like you're trying to walk around, still trying to get a good signal. You all right?
Yeah. The arm is 40 minutes in. It's. I'm not even gonna have to do arms tomorrow. Or I may have to do my left arm.
Yeah. Well, let me just give. Go ahead.
No, it's good. Like you tell me if it gets too bad. You're jumping a little bit, but overall I can kind of get what we're trying to do here.
Your audio is pretty fine. Let me just talk about another situation happened to me on an option close. We heard for years, tell them good, better, best, good, better, best. And I don't totally hate it. In some situations, I think you need to do it. You're giving them 3 options. Everybody wants 3 prices or whatever. And I don't hate it. But also it's terrible if you didn't listen to any of the questions or any of the answers in your preliminary while you're doing research. And here's what happened to me. And Alan heard me tell a story the other day. About a year ago, I had a heart issue that they could not figure out. And it was my heart would go off to the races and would not slow down. Okay. I went in for a echocardiogram and all the things like, man, your echocardiogram has changed drastically from one year to another. You got a serious issue. there's a bad issue. You've got to get in and see somebody real soon. It looks like a blockage. I'm like, holy cow. So I go to my main doctor. He does this. He goes, I want to send you to a specialist and let him take it from there because there's definitely something wrong. I go to the specialist. He goes, yeah, this doesn't look good. Let's put you on a stress test. Okay, so then I do a stress test like a couple days later. I come back, and I knew the stress test wouldn't do it. I have to exercise for a long time before this happened. I got back to the doctor, and he's like, looks like your stress test, everything's fine. And he left it. He's like, gap right there. And I said, but it's not fine. We both agreed, a couple of weeks ago that this is life-threatening. And now you're saying because I ran on a treadmill, I'm okay? He's like, well, oh, yeah, let me look at the EKG again. I'm like, what? You weren't listening. You weren't paying attention. Then here's the killer, option close. He goes, okay, well, yeah, you've got a problem, but you've either got a plumbing problem, blockage, or you got electrical problem. Something electrically is not working right. Which one do you want to do? He asked me, chimney sweep guy, what I want to do about my heart. And I said this. I said, are you kidding me? You're asking me what I want to do here? And he goes, yeah. He's like, which one do you think you want to do? I'm like, you're the expert. Tell me what to do. So I said, okay, which one can kill me the fastest? He's like, the plumbing problem. I said, well, let's do that, right? I mean, if it's up in the air. So then I will never go back to him again because he gave me the option close on my heart. So I went to the plumber. He said, man, you're fine. You don't have any of that. He goes, you've got an electrical problem. Sure enough, I had this like a short in my heart that was causing an issue. And they went in and they burned it and totally fine. Everything was fine. Easy surgery. No problems now. But how many times do people go in and go, you know what? I don't know. You could have this or you could have that. We could do this or that, whichever one. And as a customer, I want you to tell me the best option for my problem, sometimes that you just found. And I may select something else. I may ask you other questions, but we're talking about life and safety a lot of times, right? Give them the best option for them. I know I'm a little animated about this, but how do you feel about it?
Well, I'm not positive, but I think I might have brought this to the industry because everything that, 11 or so years ago, every single person was doing some sort of, what would you like to do or good, better, best. And again, I think you're right. It does have there's a place for it. But my discovery questions are crafting the solution, right? How long are you going to be in the home? That's going to be a huge one for me, right? I mean, if you're leaving in the next year, and you're okay with Band-Aids, and I tell people anything outside of a full replacement is a Band-Aid, and it could be a 10-year Band-Aid. But, let's talk about if this is your forever home, I'm typically always going with forever products, right? And I'm explaining why. And like, if I can always come down, if we're out of budget, or I can throw in financing to help, bridge the difference. So that's a huge thing. But I'd never heard of the paradox of choice until I want to say it was Philip Stoller at a heat shield convention. He talked about the paradox of choice and how they did the study of the restaurant. Like there was 5 people over here. 50 people on both sides. One side got 5 menu options. The other side got 50 menu options. And same chef, same staff, everything. And they basically did a customer experience study and determined that the people who had 5 options versus 50 had a much greater experience. And when they dove into it, it wasn't that the food was better or that the experience was better. It was they didn't have the fear of making the wrong decision. They didn't have that regret. They didn't have man, I hope I made the right choice. And and it goes into anybody here that's been at a very nice restaurant before, that one of the things that they always say after, no matter what you choose, is excellent choice, right? Oh, that's an excellent choice. I just had, and it's all training, right? It's all reinforcement that you're spending $100 and it's the right decision. And that's the way. I never want my customer to spend $10,000 with me and then they're the ones trying to decide what is the right way to spend it. I mean, that's mind-boggling to me that people are still doing that.
Yeah. So let's, and we got about 15 more minutes. Let's talk about some overcoming objections. And you've kind of hit on it, but You know, you were with my guys the other day. We had a big price increase, big price rollout, right? Big
Yep.
increase. We had to do it. We had some profitability losses through the summer. We're gonna have to make it up, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then so we raised prices, and it doesn't matter what it was. It could be we used to sell a chase cover for $600. Now we're selling it for 1,200, or whatever. We sold flashing for 1,000. Now it's 3,000. Whatever the number is, in their mind, it's worth a certain amount. And now that I'm asking myself more, there's this, you called it the little voice in your head saying it, and then people pick up on the little voice. So talk about the need to raise prices, and then what it shows, how it shows up in homes.
So yeah, a loaded topic, right? First of all, if you're not raising prices significantly right now, you're not in the standard, I would say. I mean, I'd say across the board, I've seen significant price increases throughout our industry this year. So if you're still charging similar things, people they're expecting price increases right now. They know that they know what's going on in the world. Everything is up. And again, as long as your marketing's right and you're targeting the right people, the homes that you're going into are not being affected by $200. Or if they are, you need to probably work on your marketing a little bit to do some different targeting, right? So make sure you know who your customer is. That's a whole nother topic. But with that being said, the little voice mastery, the whole idea of that is that, and I believe it's as much as 50% of price objections come from the technician themselves, not the customer.
Yes.
And I've talked about this on stage before, and I guarantee you, if you're watching this right now, I'd bet $100 on it that at some point you have decided to manipulate something in the proposal before you presented it because of what you thought they would think, right?
Yeah.
Like I would rather get 6,000, 100% of 6,000 than 0% of 8,000. So I'm going to leave the cap off this time. I'll get that next year. I feel like 6,000 is that right number, right?
Yes.
And you're putting yourself in the buyer position, what you would do, what you think, and it's just crap. Because every single person has been in here and sold a job they never thought they would sell, and they had a job that they were sure was going to close that didn't. So we know that we're just not good characters of that.
Also, how can you determine what's expensive? As a technician, how can you determine what's expensive to them? You have no idea. You know, the law of the zeros. How many more zeros they got in their bank account than you do? And when you tell them something's $10,000, that could be like $1 to them. That could be, they could make $10,000 an hour. They can make $10,000 a day. Like, you don't know what expensive is. There's no way for you to go, oh, this is $6,000 for this repair, and that's a lot. It might not be anything to him. He may have made that on a phone call. You know, I've worked around some professional speakers that make $50,000 for a talk, for a 45-minute talk. So if I gave them a $1,000, I mean, they don't care. Like, you can't determine what's expensive. And I know as I've gotten older and my business have grown, what used to be a lot of money now seems like pennies. And now my financial thermometer has gone way up to what to me is expensive. And I told you of a situation that happened to me this last weekend. That little ding I got was expensive to me on a really stupid thing. I was like, oh God, I mean, that felt expensive. But there's other times that exact same amount would not feel expensive if I was doing something else, right? But so it depends on the context of what expensive is. But the little voice. So talk about price objections now as we close out. That's what a lot of people are going to feel. How do you overcome, hey, this is expensive, I'm going to call somebody else? Like, go through that process a little bit.
So a couple of things. One, just a quick story. I'm getting a patio put in, and we're getting ready to Airbnb our Florida house and move back to Nashville. Long story short, but the guy, this has been going on for like 6 months, and one of the things that we really wanted was a motorized door that we could open and close, open it up to the pool, and have it be, open outdoor living if we wanted it. And the guy literally said, he goes, I can do that. He goes, I can do that, but I need you to understand that that's like $1,400 more. And it was just the way that he presented it, that like he's had that objection so many times that he had to cushion me to prepare me. And And the other example was literally this is last night. We went to Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, and the guy, we went to the show and we ordered 2 glasses of wine and 2 waters. And the guy said, "Please don't yell at me. That'll be $78." And it's New York, right? I can only imagine what he's been through to feel the need to do that. And so the whole point of Little Voice is that you get into your comfort level, right? You get to what you're right. Let's go back to the basics. Sales is 3 things: sales process, confidence, and rapport and likability. So rapport, likability being the same third. So when your confidence is strong on a price point, you're a third better in sales. When your confidence is not strong, meaning you feel it's expensive, then your customer is going to feel that. So that's step 1 to remember: is if you feel it's expensive, I assure you your customer is going to feel it's expensive.
No way not to. Yeah.
There's especially when you go around saying things like, I know this is expensive. Number 2 is, and the best objection you can ever get is the one that never happens, right? That's why we always teach objection prevention versus objection handling. But the entire sales process is about value building, right? The again, I feel like I'm plugging the weekly videos a lot, but there's a video called Simplify Yet Amplify, where I am going through and I am explaining in great detail to the customer how much work that is going to have to be done. And I'm showing them photos of, the guys breaking out tiles or doing whatever and going through the whole thing. And by the time I'm done presenting all the work that needs to be done, they're sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea it was this much work." And the whole idea is we have to have that number in their head be higher than the number we present to them at the time we present it. Otherwise, we get a price objection. And so the big thing is, look, you can be the best salesperson on the planet, you're still going to get price objections. Although I do think that you can limit most of them. I think you can turn them into budget objections, which is the idea. Look, Alan, I get it. It's worth every bit of 12 grand, dude, but I'm just broke. I can't, and that's fine, right? I can't control that. But here's the big mistake people make when they get a price objection. When they get a price objection, and let's talk about truly what a price objection is. That is, they're telling you that you're charging more than what they believe the service is worth. This is their personal perceptive thing that you are too expensive. It's more than it's worth. You cannot value add your way out of that. There's nothing that you can say to make that customer feel it's not expensive at that point. And I'll give to make that example. I use the beer a lot, because if you're at a grocery store and you're used to a certain beer being $1, and there is now a beer in there that is $20, right? Because I'm used to paying $20 at a Titans game. Some guy at Kroger decided, hey, let's try $20 in this environment. There is nothing that a salesperson there could ever say to make me buy that beer for $20, because to me it's way too expensive, and I know I've got other options. And so when someone says you're expensive, you have to do one of 2 things. You have to find out, is it a imaginary number that they're actually that they've made up in their head, or number 2, are they comparing you against someone else that may or may not have the same solution?
Yeah, and that's like. Oh, go ahead.
No, and so my go-to to that is look, man, that's a lot of money. That's crazy. Like, man, I tell you, 11 years of doing this, it never gets any easier given these kind of numbers. I'm at, whatever, 12 grand on this, as I kind of was going through this entire scope of work with you. Where did you see this thing landing at? Kind of what were you expecting? I need them to tell me that number, because when
so you turn it back on them, you turn it back. So, oh yeah. Okay. So what did you think this might cost? Okay. Well, I had no idea.
Well, right. They can't, if they admit that they made the number up, they can no longer say I'm expensive. They can just say they didn't understand, they didn't know, they weren't sure. That's different. I can battle that objection. If you tell me I'm expensive, I'm never going to buy something that I intentionally think is expensive. So you got to get past that barrier first. And then depending on what number they give you, let's say, man, I didn't see this being a lick over 5 grand, not 12. It's like, man, dude, I hear you. I'm always trying to get better at this thing, man. How did you come up with 5 grand?
Right.
And they can't.
Well,
they can't answer
for 2,000. I didn't know the venting was going to be 8.
That's right. And look, man, if 5's our budget, I can work with 5. These are just the things that we're not going to be able to solve for you right now. Or I'm going to have to put the other 7 over some time. That'd be about $111 a month. right? And just kind of,
That's a great recovery right there. Okay, five's your budget. Here's what we can do now. Solve the water issue. Wait, don't use the fireplace till we can get back
yeah,
and do this. And then they'll start talking themselves back up to A, go, well,
that's
no, I
right.
want to use it. Like that's a
That's
great way
exactly right.
to spin that objection.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. You froze for a second. I hope you heard
Oh,
me
sorry.
bragging about
Yeah.
you. So man, this is good stuff. There is I can't quite tell what this is. Do you want to be good, fast, or cheap? Choose two. In all reality, choose one. And
That's so true.
we've talked about that before. And to me, my company, I mean, yes, you do have to choose what your leader is. And there's guys that are super good and they're the best. There's guys that are fast and they can still make money and be good, or they can be cheap. And Walmart and Aldi and these people have found a position to be cheap. And you would argue that just because somebody is cheap actually doesn't mean they're bad. It may mean that they undervalue their time and their service. I've had cheap guys and I've been the cheap guy and we were better than the expensive guy. So that none of those tell you anything about the business, but you do have to pick a lane in your business. And so I'll tell you the lane we picked: fast. We are geared to get there so much faster than our competition. We're geared to get the job done faster, but by the way we set up everything, the processes, the get in, the get out, the lifts, the dumpsters, the organization between all the people. No guys, we try not to get any guys going to Home Depot and Brickyards and all those places. Like, we are geared for speed. And then good is right behind that, clearly. But if you're like an artisan, like our chocolate shop, right? We're beautiful, handmade everything. And we're not fast. We are that we've picked a lane, right? And we're expensive, right? Most time everybody wants to be expensive, but I agree with that. But we've picked the fast lane, and clearly good has to be right there with it, or you to be fast. And we've dropped cheap completely out. We're not only by far the most expensive chimney company in our area, but we're also the biggest by far. We spend more on advertising than all those companies combined. So we actually have lowered the amount of we have to spend on advertising because we're just so busy. But on that, so good, fast, or cheap, how do you handle that?
Well, for me, I'm 100%. Like, if people are hiring me, they're on at a bare minimum, they're focused on fast and good, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a person one that's hiring me that does anything cheap. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I would want to be in that lane, yeah, to be honest. But the thing that you said, you're by far the most expensive person in your market, and you're still not the most expensive person that I coach. So I think
Right.
that's the perspective that people have to keep in mind, is that I've got people that sell, charge $500, $600 for a chimney sweep, and like, to
Well,
some people that's insane, right?
when you said that to my guys, you're like, my guys were complaining about our prices being so high. And he goes, and you help put it in perspective. It's like, you guys are about half of the cost on flashing that almost everybody else is charging.
Yeah.
Do you realize you're $100 cheap? I mean, we're still in the 300s on a sweeping, but there's people, like you said, are 500. And like, it's all relative to what you believe in. It's just it's you sell what you believe in. I don't care what it is. You believe in waterproofing, you're going to waterproof everything. You believe in top mounted dampers, everybody gets a top mounted damper. You
That's
believe
right.
in airing system, every fireplace looks like it needs an airing system. Like,
That's
you
right.
sell what you believe in.
And I think, to button this, and I put this on one of the forums the other day because someone was talking about they were already booked out until Thanksgiving. And so I, at a bare minimum, do this study within your company, but because I've done this study with 7 or 8 companies, and every time it's held true that the longer a person is willing to wait for a sweep and inspection, the lower the average sell and close rate is for that company, and so, or that
Say
customer.
that one more time. I got to hear that again.
Yeah. So the longer a person is willing to wait for a sweep and inspection, the lower the average sell and the close rate is for that customer,
No
because
way.
oh, for sure, because they have a perception that it's not important, or it's not urgent, or yeah, I can wait 6 weeks, I can wait, whatever the case is. So just study it in your own company. I don't have enough data to say this is across the board, but if you can't get to think about it, the people that need you there now, they have a leak, they have they have a smoking issue, they have those kind of things. They're not going to wait 5-6 weeks for you. So if your model is to, get to as many people as you can, and you got to wait 5 or 6 weeks, I would bet you money that you're losing in the long. Yeah, you're going to see more people, but you're going to have a lower average sale and a lower close rate. Whereas if you, let's say you raised your prices to $500, $600, and you lost half of those people that were going to spend half the money, you're doing half the work and making the same profit. So again, just look at it in your company.
That is so interesting. But you're right. That's exactly right. The speed is the money is in the urgency. If I can get out there faster, and I've noticed that the faster I can get to somebody, the better our close rate is, and also the more we sell. And and also John says, great call. Hey, I didn't mean to say the competition. I meant to say, if you believe in selling prior fires, you need to sell prior fires. John is one of the absolute heroes. He is a hero in this business.
He's my hero.
John Meredith, my hero.
I think I'm like 45 minutes from Chris Breyer's house right now. He's going to come up here and wallop me.
But they make some fantastic products over there at Saver Systems. But John is a mentor of all of ours. So, sure. Well, Alan, this has been fantastic. I think I've answered all my comments. I think we're good. I can't see all the comments. I always close off the show. There was always something I couldn't see and I try to answer them after. But so yeah, somebody said that's an aha moment, Alan. It was an aha moment for me for sure. Thinking about the speed and the lower the sale and the lower the close rate, because they're not in a hurry. You sell to people who need stuff right now. That's so good. And again, that's another reason to get your estimators out there, whoever, as fast as you can. Be fast to the door. That's so good, Alan. You're so awesome, man. Thank you for joining us tonight and had
Thanks
really
for having
good
me,
audience. Man. Yeah, and
my arm's about to give up.
Right here. What's that?
I think my arm's about to give out, so this is perfect.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, and go get some rest.
All right, cool, man. See ya.
See you, buddy. Okay, guys. Alan, he held his arm out like this for an hour to talk to everybody, and he tried to get a better connection the whole time, and the connection got good right there at the end. So Alan is a giver, man. John Meredith is a giver. I like being around people who really try to do for others and try to help people. I don't know. That's just my jam. And that's the people I like to be around. And when you help people, I mean, yes, it can come back at you in spades, but it's just good for life, I guess. And so anyway, I've got Mr. Dom Caper says, shout out to Safe Fire Chimney out of South Elgin, Illinois. Hey, Dom, thank you for joining us. Getting ready to come to Illinois tomorrow. I'm starting a motorcycle ride. I'm doing the entire Route 66 starting tomorrow. I'm going to drive to Chicago tomorrow and start. I got some friends flying in. John, you know these people, these French chimney guys, Michelle and Olivier. They're flying in from France, getting on some motorcycles. They wanted me to tour with them. I'm like, there's a big part of Route 66. It isn't awesome. When we get out to, New Mexico and Arizona and out through there, it's cool. And we're going to be going into Santa Monica is where it ends. So I'm going to be on a motorcycle for the next couple of weeks with these French chimney guys. And so that should be a lot of fun. Just got my motorcycle ready. Got to finish packing it tonight when we get off here. So wish me luck, safety wise and everything. I'm looking forward to having a couple weeks on a bike. So, all right, guys, I will try to be back next week, though. I might have some French chimney sweeps on the show with me from the road. I might bring them on and talk about the chimney industry in France. So I'm going to try to make that happen. Depends on the internet connection in the hotel we're at. So, all right, guys, enjoy the time. Thanks for all the stuff. John Keys, great to hear from you. John Meredith, love you guys. Brad, thanks for checking in. Everybody checked in. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week.